This is a noisy world. So wrapped up in numbers in our society, and the most important thing is that we're able to be one-to-one, you and I, with each other at the moment. That's what's important.
Awesome. Hey friends, welcome here to another day/night of Haven Motel. I don't know if you can hear outside, but the sky is really angry. Such is the nature of where I live. It gets really hot multiple days during the day, and then nighttime, just lots of thunderstorms. And it's fun to watch and really kind of scary at the same time, because you're just like, oh my goodness. It's been a couple weeks. And one of the things I wanted to do when I started doing this was to stay committed and like keep going no matter what. However, last couple of weeks, were probably some of the worst of my life. So I didn't think it was fair or valuable for me to show up in that space. I don't think I would have been able to provide a space where that I intend to, and so it was much better that I take a break. That being said, I just got hired as in a full-time position at my job, and so doing something very similar to, well, I mean, there'll be different aspects, but one of the aspects will be doing something similar to this. And so I don't know if this will be an ongoing thing or if this will be bi-weekly or monthly. I don't know yet. I'm still approaching that. There's a video I really, really, really need to make and want to make, basically about the idea of how neurodiversity is like love languages. And I have the idea of what I want to say. I just need to write a script. And so, yeah. If it's your first time here, welcome. I don't think anyone is here. Yeah. Usually that's just me talking to the camera and people watching after. But the intent of this space is basically to provide you with a place in which I talk about things and you jump in and share your thoughts and opinions and perspectives, or we talk about whatever is kind of going on in your mind, whatever in particular is, challenging, victories, growth, whatever. It's just creating a space where you can be you without judgment and talk about these things without being having to worry about the weight of the burden that they carry and stuff like that. And so, yeah, there's a QR code that I just have posted on my screen. And if you scan that or go to the link that's there, it'll go to a place where you'll be able to jump directly onto this stream and we'll be able to chat. But it is highly unlikely, because I've been gone away and because people don't really tune into this, that anyone is actually going to join, which is fine. I have a bunch of topics and things that I wanted to talk about. And so as we wait, or as I do that, we will do that. So the premise of tonight has been an ongoing theme throughout my life. And it's basically this idea that and maybe it's just me, but I imagine everyone out there has voices in your head, and that sounds a bit weird, but that hand you basically thoughts about when you're about to do something, you're about to transition to something, when you're about to try something new, or you're about to even thinking about it, your brain very quickly hands you thoughts of, well, what about this? This is what happened last time. Replaying scenarios over and over and over again. So, yeah. So when I was young, which it's still, I am still young, but it's all relative, right? I don't know if I'm talking to young people, like teenagers. I don't know. But when I was younger, we had VHS tapes, basically magnetic tapes that had film on them, which were read by the readers, and you could watch movies on 4:3 ratio, I believe. And when you were, Fridays or your weekends came around, you would go to Blockbuster, which is a store, and it would have a whole bunch of these tapes of different movies that came out. And something that they had on a lot of the VHSs or stuff would be a sticker. And maybe it's not Blockbuster, but another rental store or whatever. It would say, "Be kind, rewind" on it. And I remember when I was a kid, you would, sit and watch movie over and over, like your favorite Disney movie. I don't know if I was like that, or if I was the only one who watched a movie and got excited about it and then rewound it, watched it again and again. And so the phrase "be kind, rewind" is a phrase used by the companies after giving you your movie. Like, it would be on the box and it would say, it was basically a kind, it was a kindness to the next person watching your movies. Because I don't remember if Blockbuster would rewind them, or these places would rewind them. But imagine you get this new rental and you bring it home and it's at the end or it's halfway through. That would be really frustrating, especially if it's a big movie with a lot of spoilers in it. And so it was just passing that kindness off to people. And when I was a kid, I had it was like I don't know what kind of car it was. It was a red car, probably some sort of sports car, like a Mustang or something. And you put the VHS tape and you closed it and it would rewind it. And I would rewind the tapes. I was very intentional about rewinding my tapes after watching them. So why am I saying all this? Sometimes, at least from my brain, because I use tapes, maybe your brain is whatever media is relevant to you. That just helps me, helpful metaphor, explain this process of feeling like there's these stories, these narratives, these voices that play on repeat that are crafted. I think about some of them in my life. So because I didn't know I was autistic, but ADHD, but then undiagnosed autistic and not knowing it, I had a lot of these same messages replaying. And some of them were like, never drive. I would never be able to cook reliably. I would never own or be able to live on my own. I would never be in marriage or relationships or maintain friendships, because once they got to know me, they would end. Like, I'm trying to think of other examples where, one that still exists is I don't believe I'll be able to go to post-secondary. The most recent one, though, was I'm never going to be able to work full time. Well, that one's still in the process of being figured out. Let's change it to I never thought someone would take a chance on me to be hired to work full time. You see these tapes or these messages or these voices in our head replay over and over and over, and they stop us from doing things that we would do. And so part of me has to ask, why is there a part of me, why is there a part of us that feels as necessary to tell us to stop doing things, to have this fear? It brings you a picture of when you were young, and it's like, that's going to happen again if you try and do this. Why would our brains actively try and sabotage us this way? It's something that has been very interesting to me, because I don't know if it's just me, but I do a lot of ridiculous amount of self-reflection and thinking about life and about myself, and I'm constantly trying to grow and get better and understand what it means to be me. And so it can be frustrating when you have this, especially with, I think, autistic neurodivergent brains, they really struggle with anxiety, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, is the what is it? What do they say? The dizziness of freedom, the amount of choice that we get to make. I was at the post office today after church, and there was a bulletin board, and on it had all these different possibilities of things, like you go get a cat, or go live at this home, or go work at this job, or take this guitar class, and I was just like, I could do any of these things, like just now, like instantly, like, well, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing keeping me where I'm at in this life. And yet the moment you start to try and think about these things, that voice kicks in. Yeah, exactly. That voice kicks in and is like, hey, it's a good idea, but maybe you need to have this done. Maybe you need to be here. Maybe you need to just stop thinking about that and just stay here, safe, right? It's interesting. Like, my brain can remember and remind me and highlight very negative things very quickly. But when it comes to, I've been trying this new exercise. At the end of my day, every day, I try and list off 3 things that I'm thankful for. And the reason is because our brains are wired to be really lazy. So if you are thinking about negative things, and it's trying to, it's wired to avoid, like, that was painful, let's not do that again. It makes sense, right? It's not, if you do something good and wonderful and it's thankful, why would it need to remember that? But if you follow where I'm going, it's interesting because our brains, again, telling us these narratives, but the other things still exist. There's still good things that are happening, but we are still stuck in how we perceive and how we understand and how we acknowledge and how we are present with the world around us. So why does our brains do this handing of these thoughts? Why does it say, hey, maybe don't stream tonight because no one's going to show up? Or just like, maybe don't take a chance on that relationship. Maybe you should just stay here instead of going backpacking in Europe. It's because, and this has taken me a while to get to, it's actually interesting, but I feel like it is tremendously and fundamentally changed the way that I think about how I relate to this part of me. But it's trying to protect me. It's trying to look after me. It's this voice stands up and is like, hey, maybe let's not do that because you're going to get hurt. You remember last time when you were crying for multiple days? You remember last time when you couldn't get out of bed? You remember last time when you got really sick with food poisoning? Remember last time when you got so embarrassed? It's created a core memory within your life, and it's interesting. And I was just gonna say, if anyone is here joining, feel free to post messages in the chat, keep lurking, or join the QR code and chat with me. I'm just going to talk until someone does, and I'll keep bringing it up. But so, there's so many ways that I go over these tapes in my head, these narratives, these stories. And just like I said earlier, the brain is lazy, right? And so it creates these pathways of connection where it is incredibly... What? I'm getting text. Do you want to post that in chat and I can relate, or I can, let's see, what did you say? You just described what are called flashbulb memories per my psych test. Okay. I don't know why it would be called flashbulb memories. It's a very interesting term. Basically, our memories, the feelings we had in those memories, which is the very fascinating part, because the memory not be real in terms of what actually happened, but how it remembers it and the feelings can shape how we choose to make our choices in the world. We can listen to that voice fully and steer clear. Like, when I was younger, there was some truth to me not being able to do things in the same way as other people, but I didn't understand it like that. I didn't have it in that framework. What I understood it is, I am not like other people. Other people are able to do all of these other things amazingly. I don't know how they can go to school and maintain 2 jobs and do all of that. I don't know how these people are all in these relationships, or how they can maintain all these wonderful friendships. Why can't I do what other people are doing? And so, and then sometimes I would try and put myself out there a little bit. I would challenge that voice, and it would go pretty catastrophically. It would confirm the things that I was afraid of in the first place. And so it would further entrench me into that thinking. It's like, see, like I told you, if you did this, this was going to be the result. You didn't listen, and now we're here. So don't do that again. It only sees possible what has happened in the past, which it's a healthy and normal thing. It's how our brains can try and understand and relate to the world as we go through it. The problem with this thinking, though, the problem with the lack of desiring change or allowing ourselves to change or pursuing it, is that change is a natural part of our lives. One change I can think of off the top of my head right now that I'm experiencing is getting older. My eyesight is a bit fuzzier. I'm getting some, I don't know if people can tell, there's some gray hairs in my hair. I think I might be losing some hair. My body aches more, probably because I don't keep it in shape. If I eat, I still remember when I was working with a bunch of young people at the drop-in that I worked at, and they would just shovel down like junk and garbage. And I'm like, wait till you're, I don't know, 25, 30. Your metabolism is just going to tank. It's going to be gone, and you're going to notice very quickly. Like when I eat McDonald's, for example, I know. See, and those are the voices you want to listen to, where you eat McDonald's, you have a brick in your stomach, and you're struggling to poop and try to live. That's the voice where I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do this again. It was good for a couple seconds going in, but or the other day I got a Slurpee with ice cream in it, and I was so excited because I used to do this when I was a kid. And I'm pretty sure I sent my body into shock. Like it shut down. It was so bad. The overload. So those are change. Like the growing older, for example, is a change that is naturally part of everyone's life. And regardless of how you think about it, is going to happen. So why is it that maybe we're not okay with that kind of change, but we're not okay with the premise of growing and changing and challenging some of these thoughts. And maybe not challenging them. For me, it's thinking about what I'm thinking about, but changing the way I relate to these thoughts that I'm handed, recognizing those thoughts. So I'm terrified of working full time, and I have legitimate reason to be terrified. Jobs don't put up with me in the past. They get angry, upset when I try and articulate my needs. And I'm just paraphrasing very basically. I'm often fired, or I have a meltdown, or I burn out, or there's all of these multiple reasons that other individuals that I work with or see working don't seem to have the same issues, right? So why would they keep me around? Why would they have me hired versus somebody who's got multiple years of school and multiple letters after their name? Why hire me in this position versus someone else? It's a good question. And maybe instead of looking at it as a negative thing, it can reinforce some of my... So this is how I like to think about things. It's like, so I had all those thoughts, right? But then I'm like, okay, so that's true. There's truth to that. But then also, maybe there's something really incredibly unique and awesome about myself that they would be willing to take those risks and those challenges, that they would create environments so that I could be successful. Maybe it won't be like the past, because I have grown in incredible ways. And I'm also on medication, which I wasn't in the past. Sorry, that's really loud. You can hear the thunderstorm. If I just cut out suddenly, that will be why. Because power will just go like that and I'll be gone. And it might happen. So Apologies if it does. Anyway, so yeah, again, I try and find a middle ground of, okay, so all those fears, there's some truth to it. Some people would push back and say, don't even think about that, but just acknowledge those fears. Whatever works for you. For me, it's helpful to understand why I'm thinking and feeling the way that I am so that I can make the best informed decision with the knowledge that I have now. And if I don't have enough, then I go and find more information. But going back to work, yeah, there's got to be a reason. And they're willing to work with me. And I'm not the same person I was years ago when I had these fears, when I had these things. I've grown considerably. And so maybe, just maybe, I should try. Because the worst thing that happens, thankfully my boss or my work and my bosses have articulated that if this doesn't work out, which would then probably be a confirmation that I'm not able to work full time in that way of 9 to 5 structure, whatever, then I could fall back to my previous job and it would be okay. And so I have a safety net if I don't succeed. But I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't. I've realized life is short. I mean, it's so cliche, but I don't want to live with these regrets of like, I didn't take the shot. I didn't go for it. I let fear, these fears that are handed, these helpful, thank you brain, you're handing me these helpful, protective thoughts, but we are not in the same place. And we need to see if we can make this work. The circumstances have changed. It might feel the same. It might feel incredibly the same, but it's different. Another example I thought of just quickly that I really struggle with kids. I don't know how to deal with them. I see them like kind of like puppies. I didn't really have siblings or I did have siblings, but I don't know. I didn't learn to interact with them properly. And then grew apart because I got placed in different places. But part of my job recently was to go to a child development center with some of our participants because we're teaching job skills and giving them opportunity to like try out new things. And I was also there and I was also in the class and I'm like, I couldn't do this for in my mind, I'm like, I can't do this. But I went and I did it. And I'm like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, how I used to remember being in this type of environment. And maybe it's because I've learned how to, well, first of all, I know that I'm autistic now. And so because of that, I've learned how to build, how to look after myself and my needs in those type of environments. What I was afraid of is like high pitch screaming and yelling and kids demanding attention and doing all of that. But I was able to manage that just fine. And in fact, I was reading all the kids a story. I think it also helps the fact that I'm big and scary and they don't really talk to me anyways. And so, but anyway, all I'm saying, it's kind of like, when you're a kid, you have food and you don't really have refined taste buds and you don't know what's outside of those things. And so you're like, this is all I like. I don't like these things. And you try them. You might have tried it, I remember when I was a kid, quick story, I was on a speedboat, Kelowna, and there was like Gatorade and everyone's like paying attention to people tubing and there's Gatorade on the or a bottle of Gatorade in the boat, but it's not Gatorade. It looks like there's apple juice in it. So I drink it and it's beer. And it was the worst tasting thing. I was like spitting it out everywhere. It was disgusting. I'm like, how do people drink this? Now as I'm older, I mean, I don't really drink beer, but it doesn't taste like that to me anymore. I can drink it and it's fine. And so it's almost like when we're a kid or when we're handed those thoughts and those things, it's like it was when that memory happened, when that trigger happened, when those things happen, that your brain is bringing you back to. But that's not where you are. You are not in that place, right? And sometimes it could feel like your thoughts or feelings. And this is an exercise I like to do that I've been practicing myself. It's like, oh, that sounds really. What did people say when I was younger? I don't know if you can hear that. You probably can because this mic's pretty good. It's like the angels moving around furniture or something. Something dumb like that. But it's funny just thinking about people like moving around furniture, and it's just like, anyway. So I'm going to use this for an example, right? This is something. I'm not this thing, right? Am I this thing? Obviously not, right? I'm not this fidget. Right? Everyone can agree with me. So what if our thoughts and our feelings are the same? What if we can observe them? Like I'm here, right? Like this is me. And I can sit and observe my thoughts and feelings as they're happening, but they aren't me. It's an interesting thing when you start thinking about things from this place, because as you differentiate, you can acknowledge all of these different thoughts and these feelings that you're having, but not, rather than acting sorry, what was it? You're not acting from them, right? Like that's not what moves and motivates you. They're just happening because our thoughts and feelings come and go. Our brains hand us all the time, and you can acknowledge, hey, thanks, brain, or I see you doing that again. I like to think about those things. Why am I thinking about this? But other people might not find that helpful. Anyway, back to change. When we get in these mindsets, it stops us from moving towards things that are actually important to us, right? Because I could have, in my previous job, for example, I felt like I had grown to the extent that I could. I didn't want to work just with people directly in crisis, but build ongoing relationships. But I could have stayed there, kept doing the thing I was doing, and been fine, coasting. And everyone would be like, wow, good job. You're doing, you're connecting with street entrenched teens. How wonderful are you? Or I could have listened to that part of myself, which was like this integral understanding of I've outgrown this. And if I want to continue it, I felt like I needed to go to school in order to hone my craft. There was nothing more out of that space on its own that would bring kind of the stuff that I was looking for, if that made sense. And that could be very well incorrect. Like there's going to be things I can learn and keep growing. But what I hadn't done, and what I believe a lot of people don't do in their lives, because we get overwhelmed by choice, we get overwhelmed by the dizziness of freedom, is we take that shot, we listen, and so after 10 years of doing this thing that I loved, that brought me life, I gave it up because I wanted to know who I was outside of doing that thing. And it's been wonderful. Ironically, I'm doing the very similar thing because actually it's something that I love, but it is with an environment where I do have that ongoing relationship basis, is with autistic young adults and young or adults transitioning to adulthood and independence. And for me, it's just completely new. That's one, like, I'm learning as I go, as I learn about myself and what it means to be autistic. And so again, I had a crossroads a couple weeks ago. I could have stayed in this place of, I'm never going to work full time. They're offering me a full-time position, but it's never going to work, right? It's never going to. But I'm different, and the circumstances are different, and the people here are different. And what do I not know? I know that is one possibility. I know that maybe I do colossally fail, but I'll be okay because I'm not my job. My job isn't my identity. These are lessons I've learned through actually leaving my previous job. I've had my midlife crisis. I mean, I left my job and then COVID literally hit. So it wouldn't have mattered anyway. It would have been really bad if I stayed, because how would I have done the work I wanted to do? Like, it was really good timing looking back, like serendipitous timing with how all of that played out. But anyway, 1 second here. So, yeah, change. We can choose to replay those tapes. And here's the thing. And the voices and the whatever it is in your head, whatever the way that you look at it, for me, it's those VHS tapes when I was a kid. You can choose to replay them. And in fact, what I'm going to argue and what I'm going to tell you is your brain is going to hand you those regardless of what you choose. You don't get to control our thoughts. We don't get to control what is handed to us. What we control is how we react, how we choose to go about things. And so that's why it's important to know what your values are, because your values can guide your actions. And that's another topic. And I've done videos on that, or I've talked about that in the past. But for me, it's weird. I feel like I'm not, like, it can feel like you're the only one taking risks. You're the only one who's you're the only one kind of facing these questions, who are dealing with these struggles. But that's not true. Everyone is. Of the voices and the things handing. In fact, I watch it happen with so many people. They get stuck. They have no ambition, no drive, no desire to push themselves with outside of what's familiar and comfortable. And as an autistic autistic adult, I know what that's like to especially as someone who craves routine and structure and does things like, I'll order the same friggin' Subway sandwich. They laugh. They know me at the Subway nearby. They know my order. They know when they get this sandwich, it's me, because it's always the same. And I can laugh and make fun of myself and be humorous. I mean, it's food. It's a sandwich. Who cares? But when it comes to like big things, when it comes to decisions about the type of person I want to be and where I want to be and where I'm going, I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to give up on myself just because I don't think I'm going to do it, or it's not easy, and that's the thing. Like, we don't know. like we think that we're going to, go to school, and then once we have this thing, we'll arrive at the point, or work this particular job, or maybe, and we'll tell ourselves these stories and these narratives. I just need this. I just need that. You're never like, you might get to those goals one day through that process. And it's not going to feel like anything, because it's really about the journey of who you are in the moving towards your desires. Anyway, it was something I was thinking about, because my life has been filled with a lot of narratives, a lot of stories, a lot of things that have happened over and over and over again. For example, I'll get into a friendship with someone. They will get to know me. And then my masking cracks, it breaks. And then they get resentful, bitter, they give up. But of course, they don't tell me any of that. And then the friendship ends. And this has happened over and over and over. And what I realized, I reluctant to get into friendships now. I'm reluctant to get into these relationships with people, to let myself be seen, because in the past, being seen meant you get cast out. People get angry. People think that you say things when you don't. People don't understand. I can give you a thesis. I can give you papers. I can pay you. You won't understand it. That's what it feels like. And there's some truth to it. Well, the part that I haven't tried out yet, and this is the thing, I haven't tried the other way. I let fear of not being enough for myself, basically. And I mean, to be fair, being young, you don't know these things, but I would mask autistic traits and try and be like others. But I've never been myself first, up front, forward, and then gone into these relationships. And I have to wonder if it would be different, because I haven't tried it. And what's the worst thing that happens? It doesn't work out, or it doesn't, possibly, but I don't know unless I try. How do I know? I don't know. This is what I don't know. And I know what it's like to wrestle with all of those things, but the way that I've done it only caused, it didn't work. Sure, it kept me safe, right? Sure, staying in the same place in life keeps you safe. I was talking to one of our participants in one of the programs this week, and he was saying some of these same things. And I thought of the quote, I forget who it's by, but it was, a ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are built for, right? We can keep ourselves in harbor. We can keep ourselves, and it's good for a time or a season, but eventually we need to go out there and sail and challenge and face the storms and break and and be shipwrecked and come back to life again and have our purpose changed and renewed. And because that's what life is about. Life is not meant to just be in this track of safety, and because this is all we get. This is it, right? This is all. It's weird when you start to think about these things from an existential point, but again, I don't want to be someone at the end of my life where I didn't try things. I didn't go for it because I was afraid. A good movie that I really love that talks about this, I I don't know if people know, it came out a while ago. It's called Yes Man. And it's with Jim Carrey. And basically the whole premise is the name. He gets to this place where nothing is working, everything's falling apart. So he just starts saying yes to everything, you know, learning these weird things. Any flyer he just grabs and does it. He just goes and does all of this stuff. And he goes about his life and structures it in a way where he has to say yes. And I don't want to spoil it, but I really enjoy that idea that there are things that are in front of us, things that could bring our hearts to life, things that could break everything we know, and we say no because it is safe and comfortable to stay the way we are, to stop growing, stop change, try and control everything around us. Here's the thing. You can't control anything. All you can control, the only thing, is how you respond to the world around you, to your thoughts, your feelings, the things that people say, the things that happen. That is it. And who I want to be in how I respond. And so, again, long rants. I get excited about this stuff. I really do. Because when you get really down to it, there's no one in control. We run these scripts, these narratives of these things that other people are doing to try and keep us all safe in this. It's not going to. I mean, it might. Actually, I'll counter that. It will keep you safe. It will keep you in that complacency. It will keep you in that. But is that what you were made for? Is that it? Is that all you want to be? And again, I'm not saying this from a judgmental place, but more so from a place of, this is it. This is our one life, our one shot opportunity. I think everybody listens to Eminem. You know, if you have one shot, would you take it? Because it's really, this day is all you get, these hours. And so I could try and live in the future where I can control everything through my anxiety, or I can try and live in the past where I control everything in my depression, and try and feel safe and comfortable. But life isn't safe and comfortable. Real life isn't safe and comfortable. Because I promise you, if you actually took a shot on these things, that desire within your heart, these things that have been calling out to you your whole life, or, you know, that school you wanted to go, that trip you wanted to make, that relationship that you felt like you should mend, take a shot on yourself, a chance on yourself. Throw away these old tapes. The wonderful thing about tapes, for most part, I would say, the ones that I think of, you can record memories onto, and then you write on the side, and this is what that tape is. But the wonderful thing about those tapes is you can rewrite what's on them. And I'm not saying you can change your memories. What's past is gone forever. It happened, and that's it. But you can change the way you relate to, how you view, how you relate and understand where you are now. For me, I'm trying more and more every day to try and live in today, the present, the only thing that I can really think about. Because I would try and predict and understand what is going to happen. I'm pretty good at it. But it closes out possibility. When we put these expectations and these narratives around our lives, we get upset when they don't play out the way that we thought it would. the way that it was supposed to. I planned it to a T. But sometimes life doesn't work out that way. And all you can do is move forward. Do you replay the tapes? Do you sit there and listen to that voice? Yep, here you go again. You messed up. Or, yep, you took a risk on this. You know, we warned you. I'm talking about our brain and all the voices. Think about it like Inside Out, so I don't sound crazy, but this is how I picture it. It's like, we warned you, and yet here we are. So are you going to sit down and shut up and do what we tell you because it keeps you safe? But then another voice, a small one, reminds me that it wasn't all bad. You know, sure, it didn't play out the way I was expecting. Sure, I made a fool of myself. Sure, I lost all that I thought I was. But there were good memories, moments of humanity that I wouldn't trade for anything. So is it possible that that could happen again? Or do I just give up and stop growing, and stop changing, and stop risking? I don't know. That's for you to decide. I can't tell you what to do or where to go or how to go about life. That's the thing. It's your choice, right? I live my life. I do my things according to who I am and my values, what's important to me. And I hope that you're able to do the same too. Go and dance. Go and make a fool of yourself. Go and pursue your dreams. Who cares if people laugh? Who really gives a crap, right? Because at least you gave it a shot, and if it doesn't work, you still gained and grew in experience. It's the same with this. Like, I don't know if anyone will ever watch these. Anyone will get anything from it. But this is the person I choose to be. Ironically, I think part of my job will have this stuff. I think about when I was at my previous job doing community youth work, and how miserable I was near the end. But as I do the job I'm doing now, sorry, I'm a bit hot because these lights. As I do the job that I'm doing now, I realize how much that previous job, that previous experience, the previous things that I learned that actually are really helpful in what I'm doing now, actually kind of qualify me to do what I'm doing now. It wasn't all miserable, right? And so maybe that's true about those failed relationships you have. Those failed friendships, the failed business that you started. I don't know. And maybe I'm just on hopium. You know, I'm just trying to reason or magic my way through this. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But I've tried it the other way. I've tried to control, keep myself safe, and I'm not doing it anymore. It's not who I am. I'm a ship. I need to go out there and explore and sail and find others like me and celebrate and enjoy this life. But anyway, I don't think anyone's here. But that's okay. If you are, feel free to chat and post in the chat or join the QR code. But if not, I'll probably close the stream up pretty soon. What's wonderful about this is you can always watch these in the future. And if anything, it will be like a time capsule of where I was in some of the darkest places of my life and who I choose to be in that space. Because this, for me, this isn't an act. Like this is very real and genuine. Like that's all I really want to be with people. Is what you see is what you get. But yeah, I hope there was something of value for you tonight. I hope that it gave you something to think about, something to challenge you, something to remind you of who you are. I like to end these streams because I don't really know how to end these. I'm not very good at it, but I like to say that you are not alone. I know that it can feel like that. I know that this grind of life, of working and maintaining employment and maintaining yourself and your mental health and all of these things, I see you. You're not alone. And if you're really feeling that way, maybe the one thing you can do, the one step, and this is what I like to give to people as well, is what is the one next right thing moving you towards whatever that value is? What is one thing you can do? Just one small thing you could do to move out of that space. I don't know. Maybe it's sending a text to someone saying how much you appreciate them journeying with you, or calling someone you haven't spoken to in a long time, or going out and getting a candy bar, walking outside and being terrified by the thunderstorms and remembering that you are alive. I don't know. But whatever you end up doing, wherever you're at in your life, I want you to know that you're not alone. You're loved and cherished, and you have more to bring to this world than you could ever possibly know or understand, and nobody can replace that. In any case, I don't know if I'll be back next week. I'm still deciding. This week was my first full-time work week, but I was off on Canada Day, so it wasn't technically the full week, and so I want to see where I'm at next week. But I'll try and keep you guys posted on Instagram. It's where I'm posting things, because I'm going to nuke. I think I'm done with social media. It has no value in my life anymore. I might keep it around for messaging and other things, but I don't care. It's not, again, it's something that's not valuable to me. It keeps me in that anxious place, especially with when I learn about finance and how the world works and having to know all the macro events and things that are happening. Anyway, I hope you guys take care. It's been an hour. I'm going to take one sip and then I will call it. Thanks for joining me at Haven Motel. This is their first time. This was a reoccurring stream that happened on Sundays. I, again, don't know if that's going to be the case, but you're welcome to tune in. Something, like I said at the beginning, that I want to do, I really, and I think I might do this on the weekends, is spend some time to work on articulating this idea about how neurodiversity is like love languages, and crafting it in a way where people are going to understand, because I'm really excited about it. And it changes the framework from a deficit mindset to a mindset of mutuality. But anyway, that's something I'm passionate about and want to do. But for now, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And have a great rest of your week. I'm looking forward to thunderstorms and rain. All right. Take care.
Overtime there, erode and destroy hearts of good souls in the dark.